What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to talk about a recent episode of Jason Whitlock show, and he basically discussed Stephen A. Smith's opinion on having Bad Bunny as a musical performer for the Super Bowl, the halftime Super Bowl show, right? Now, me personally, like the Super Bowl, I never really watched the halftime shows. I never watched it like when who was on there? Janet Jackson. I missed that. I watched the Super Bowl, but like halftime shows, that's usually time for me to get up and probably go, get something to eat or take a bathroom break or something like that. Like I said, I missed all of them really. Janet Jackson. I remember Diana Ross was on there, and a lot of them. I never really watched them, right? So when they announced that Bad Bunny was coming on there, I never heard of Bad Bunny, and so I'm not aware of any of his music. But evidently, Bad Bunny, like none of his music is in English, right? It's all in Spanish. So to me, right away, once I found out that all of his music was in Spanish, I'm like, what? If that's not your audience, right? I can see if it was at a soccer game or something like that, where as though you had a mainly Hispanic audience and not even an American, because like an American audience or Spanish Americans or Mexican Americans or Cuban Americans, right? Because a lot of those people, those different Puerto Ricans, they are, they speak English. I know, I have friends who are from Puerto Rico that don't even know Spanish, and it's probably the same way with people from Cuba, right? I mean, people from like who live down in Miami and people who live in Los Angeles, right? Or over on the West Coast. Some just because you are, you are Mexican or you're Cuban or you're Puerto Rican, even though they try to say that English is our first, that Spanish, is a first language now or the second language. I don't think so. English is always going to be the dominant language, in my opinion, in this country, because it's America, so when you have a music group or a music performance like Bad Bunny coming on, and you really can't identify with the music, I'm not saying it's not good music, or because, like I said, I'm not familiar with it. But I don't really know anybody who is, like people who don't know any of his songs. Like most people, they say can't even name like one of his songs. He's popular in certain, segments and stuff like that. For the most part, people don't know his songs. So Stephen A. Smith came on, and Stephen A. Smith said that, he tried to say it's about working together and being all inclusive, right? So and I get that. It is about being inclusive. So if you're going to have an artist on that, and you want to have an artist on that is like, like come from a different genre, then have an artist that like everybody can identify with, like Carlos Santana, right? Like everybody can is familiar with Carlos Santana, and they can identify with him. So Carlos Santana will appeal to, Americans or people who speak Spanish, because because of his Latino connection and his American connection. Then you have the guy who was married to, I don't know if he was married to Madonna, or no, he was married to J Lo, right? But like I said, those kind of people who have that connection to both, like they have a bridge between the Latin community and the English speaking community, then they could do that. But I don't think you want to alienate a certain audience, especially not your core audience, because it just makes it seem like you're taking them for granted. Have something that both people can, like both can you can bridge between both communities, right? And so that's why, Jason Whitlock was saying that, Stephen A. Smith, he will promote anything without even really considering. It just say like most of the opinions, in my opinion, that Stephen A. Smith come up with don't even seem like they're his ideas. It just seems like he's the company man and he's going along with what the company um what the company wants him to go along with, because he always found a reason to, and this is how you could tell he's a company man. He always found a reason to justify and defend, and that's also what Jason Whitlock pointed out, right? Why, if it's a good idea, then why does it need justification? Or why, if it's a good idea, then why does it need to be defended? Like I said, you got Carlos Santana, Ricky Martin, a lot of Latin acts. Like if I don't know the music, and I don't know the words to Carlos Santana songs, but you know what I mean? It's at least it's most of it is, and he do some stuff in Spanish that I think is really cool. But you know, he Carlos Santana don't put out a he wouldn't put out a whole Spanish album or a whole Spanish performance and present it to to an English speaking audience. That's just not, it don't make good business sense, right? For people to sit there and listen to that and they really can't identify with it. They can't get the vibe of it. You know, that's why I think Jason Whitlock just called Stephen A. Smith out, because it, to me, it really don't make any sense. And so excuse me. He also said that Jason Whitlock also said that there's even a chance that because of the backlash of this selection, that they may try to alter this performance a little bit and maybe have it like have a second performance on another network. And so if they're going to do that, then that just proves that like the first choice wasn't really a good, wasn't the best choice. Like I said, it's plenty of Latin artists that I think people here in the United States can identify with: Ricky Martin, Carlos Santana, and I don't know all the Latin artists, but people like Gloria Estefan, like there are some Latin artists that people would appreciate seeing. Whereas though you can kind of, you can, the music is cool, and then you can get into the lyrics. But this guy Bad Bunny, I think a lot of people is pushing back because they don't know the music. They're not familiar with it. And I think the Super Bowl is not the best place to like introduce new music to somebody. You want people to enjoy the experience. And like I said, I never really even watched the halftime show. Even when like who was on there the last time? I think it was like 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and all those guys, Eminem and all those guys was on there. I don't watch the Super Bowl's halftime show anyway. And maybe a lot of people like that, but Stephen A. Smith, his credibility is always in question. And that's why, I like when Jason Whitlock just stay on him, man, because his credibility is always in question. He make it seem like if you're not feeling Bad Bunny, then you are I don't want to, like, you're prejudiced or something like that, right? Or it's a knock on a Latin community, but it's not. If that's the case, then why don't they just do opera at the like some people like opera, but I bet you what they wouldn't do opera at the Super Bowl, because they know people can appreciate talent. I don't care where the talent comes from, but they also have to be able to connect with it and understand it. We appreciate Bad Bunny might, what I mean? He may be a talented artist. And I'm sure that, like, to have as much of a following, as large as a following that he have, and his Latin following, um, he got probably definitely have to be talented. But what if you bought a artist from like a country like say like an African artist or something who don't speak English, and he has a big following in Africa? W- You know, so people gonna be looking like, what is this? He may be talented and probably very popular in his country. But what is that? Like Stephen A. Smith, man, just like Jason Whitlock said, man, this guy's just dumb, man. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'll check y'all out in the next video. Peace.